Welcome to another episode of Inside IALR. For those of you all who have followed along at all in the last few years, I think it's pretty clear that this organization has grown a lot in the last several years. I've joined a year and a half ago, but I know even as 2 to 3 years ago, we were basically pretty consistently at about 50 people for the last 15 plus years before that. And now here we are at 130 plus employees and still many open positions to fill. So we're here today to talk with our Vice President of Human Resources, LaShaun Graham, about that growth and sort of how you maintain a culture through that. So LaShaun, thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me.
How would you define our company culture here at IALR?
That is a great question that we're still working to define. We have our mission statement, we have our value statement, and a couple of years ago we went through a process of using the value statement to identify some competencies, some behaviors that we want to see. And we're hoping focusing on those behaviors will help drive a culture so that we can officially one day say, this is the culture of the Institute. But
what is that value statement?
It is a very long value statement, so I can't name all of.
You don't have it all memorized?
I don't have it all memorized, but we are about purpose, partnership, collective ownership, diversity and inclusion, communication and respect, and community engagement. Those are the broad statements that we've kind of pulled out of the value statement to drill into some behaviors that we like to see people emulate in the workplace.
And so, even with us, being in that phase of trying to have that very specific definition of what our culture is, I think you all are doing a lot to set that culture even without that specific definition. I think that is very clear. But how do you go about establishing a culture, one, and then just in general in an organization, but two, when you're growing at the rate that we are and the way that we are, where we're growing with people joining different shifts. We used to be all, business hours. Now we have people across different shifts. We have people across different areas of the state, actually other states as well. So how do you sort of build and maintain a culture with all of that growth?
I think it starts with Telly. I think our president, I think it starts there. I think it starts with our board of directors. And Telly has a his style is pretty respectful, and we can do it all. We can do anything. I don't want to say it all, but we can do anything and we can get through anything. And I think he has a very innovative style, and I think that reflects into who we are as an organization. We really focus on being innovative and pretty much sometimes doing the impossible without a blueprint and establishing a blueprint. And so when you have that as kind of like our reputation as to what we do, you try to refine that into how people work. And we use our core competencies to kind of guide that, with integrity leading the way, and innovation and continuous improvement, like looking at yourself like, what can I do better? And not necessarily waiting for someone to tell you what your development path should be, but identifying that for yourself and working towards that. I think it also entails just collaboration and working with folks, your team inside the organization, and our partners across our service area as well. So people is a huge part of that culture. How we interact with people, how we engage with people, it has to be right. You have to feel good about it. I know for me, being the HR leader for the organization, I want to be able to sleep at night to know that we did right by people. So that's a huge part of what we're trying to make our culture.
There are a lot more people to keep track of now.
Yeah.
So right now, I'm correct in saying we're a little over 130 employees, correct?
Over 130. Probably with interns, we're right at 144 as of right now, which is the largest our organization has ever been.
Yeah, and I know as of today, and this is always fluctuating, but as of today, there's about 15, 16 job postings also for open positions. So yes. Definitely a lot of people here.
Yes.
From the HR end, what are some of the challenges that have come with sort of overseeing that growth? You're talking about hiring 80 plus, really more than that, but 80 plus people in a matter of about 3 years. What are some of the challenges that come with that type of growth?
So we've always had a very small team, HR team, with a very low head count as an organization. And so we were just able to hire a third person to kind of to handle the benefits. And so some of the challenges was, one, admitting that, hey, we can't do it all, but how do we leverage technology to help us get it done? And so leveraging technology was a tremendous help and really enabled us to move quicker and faster and more efficiently. And I think most of the workforce is accustomed to using technology, so it made the onboarding process much simpler for them as well. Another challenge is really just in the work environment and the workforce right now is kind of aligning the institute's kind of culture of remote work, and we don't have a fully remote staff. And the workforce right now is really looking for remote positions, and a lot of times we can't accommodate that. And so that is a challenge, and one of the things that we have to work through is aligning those expectations. Like, we do have some remote abilities or capabilities here for staff, but we're not a fully remote organization, and we really need a lot of our team members to be on site to really dial into the collaboration and just the feel of everything that's going on here.
You're talking about those challenges of, people expecting remote work as an option today. And what are some strategies, that your team implements to both with that challenge specifically, but just, more broadly through all this growth to effectively manage that growth?
One, we try to be very transparent with our postings, our job postings. We will tell people where the position is located, and we also are very transparent with our salaries for the most part when we can be and when it makes sense for us to be transparent, just to really align expectations before anyone applies. You have a good view of what we're doing. Another thing that is challenging for us is that even though we have a posting today, and once someone starts, it might be a little bit different just because of all the change that we're experiencing. And that's not a bad thing. It's just that we really encourage our leaders to be transparent about, like, look, this is what I need you to do today, but this could change. This is why it's changing, and I hope you will understand, and this will lead to some growth.
So I know, you're talking about, those, shifting of duties and reorganization. I know the Manufacturing Advancement Division there's been a lot of that happening just because of the way that's grown. Specifically for that and for the ATDM program, how has that process gone of trying to figure out, when do you need to realign responsibilities, bring in new roles? What is that process like?
I think that goes into one of our competencies. It talks about continuous improvement. And when we talk about continuous improvement, that talks about self. And as our leaders, that is a challenge to how can we get better? Really doing a great job of reevaluating with the ATDM program every cohort. And looking at what went well, what didn't go well, what do we need to change, and just really working to make sure our programs are adding value to the stakeholders in the region and now nationally, that we have that national exposure, and just knowing sometimes it's time to pivot, but this isn't working, or we're anticipating some growth. We're going to go from 100 people in a cohort to 200. How do you mitigate that? How do you transition that? What changes need to happen? So it takes some innovation, it takes some foresight, and just having a mindset of wanting to continually improve. And so that's why we've had to do that reorg to get ready for some plans that we know we're expected to.
Yeah, that makes sense. That when they started with a few dozen people in each cohort to what you're talking about, 200 students at a time, those are two very different things. But obviously on the instructional side, but with every other service that's provided.
Every other service that's provided, from transportation, from housing to just general needs of someone who's going to be in the region for 4 months, like that. It changes how you operate.
What are sort of your goals for IALR as a workplace? Like, what do you want the employees here to be able to say about working here?
Ultimately, my goal is for anyone who works for the organization to say that the Institute for Advanced Learning and Research is the best place to work in Southern Virginia. And it is the best place to work, not because, people have free reign to make any decision they want to make, but it's because they have impactful positions. They're well respected. There's opportunities for growth and development, and they want to come to work. like that is my ultimate goal. There is an award out there, like best places to work in Virginia. Mm-hmm. We're going to apply for that.
We're shooting for it.
We're going to shoot for it,
mm-hmm.
and that's just for, I want our employees to always feel proud of where they work. And
mm-hmm.
I don't know about anyone else, but working somewhere and being in a position that you're not proud of it's not good. It's not healthy. Yeah. And so we really work to make sure. We want to work to make sure that folks are always proud to say that I work for the Institute for Advanced Learning Research.
I mean, I know for me, and I would assume for you too, you know, we're more on the support side of we're supporting what all of our other programs and divisions are doing, so that impact is a little less direct. You know, we're not out teaching students mm-hmm. or we're not the ones out, but it is really cool to know that we're a part of either for me, you know, spreading that word of all of the cool things that we are doing, or helping find the people that eventually do use our programs, or for you bringing in the people that actually make that impact is really cool. Benefits. Talk to us about the big picture. What is the IALR benefits package? What does that look like?
Yeah, so we have a little bit of a uniqueness with our benefit package. We are not a state agency, a full state agency. We're a political subdivision. So being a political subdivision, we don't have access to the full range of benefits that an estate entity or a state agency would have. But we do work with our partners to ensure that the benefits that we do offer our employees are pretty close and very similar to what the state is able to offer state employees. One of the biggest draws to our organization is that we are able to participate in the Virginia retirement system. And so that kind of helps us with our pool of candidates that we consider, like, if people understand, like, hey, we are VRS participants. But we do have medical insurance with Anthem. We do have a couple different options that people can choose from. We heavily subsidize the cost of the benefits. There is still some cost to employees, but we try to really make sure that the rates our employees pay kind of matches what the state expects its staff to pay as well.
When I came here, I was very impressed with the benefits from the health insurance, the sick and vacation time and all of that as well. Tell us about Take a Break, because that's my favorite part of working here.
Yeah, well, Take a Break was an idea. I think Leslie Dobbins, who was the former VP of ICC, I think it was her idea. I don't know for sure, but it is a monthly activity where our employees get together in Megabytes, the Megabytes Cafe, and just enjoy a meal and kind of catch up. Especially being across 5 to 6 buildings in different remote locations, it's not always easy for our staff to get to know each other, but we really use Take a Break as a time for people to catch up and say, hey, how are you doing? And really interact with each other across divisions, across support functions, and spend some time together and with a nice little meal catered by the conference center.
Yeah, and the food is always ridiculous.
Yes.
So if anyone who's thinking about working here, that's why you want to work here.
Once a month.
So I know we recently, or I guess this year was the first time we sort of implemented a formal review policy that had pay increases associated with that. Talk us through that process and why having a formal process like that is important.
Yeah, like in the past, the Institute has had a very robust performance management process, and because of COVID, because of various reasons, we kind of got away from that. And this year was really important for us to make sure we had a pretty robust and a pretty consistent plan in place to reintroduce performance reviews for staff and tie the performance reviews to possible merit increases. And we did that. And it is important because, one, it's important for me to make sure people get feedback. I hear feedback from about staff and employees all the time, and I want to make sure whether it's positive or it is more tactful feedback that someone needs to receive, that we have a formalized place to get it, and there's no better place than document that through the performance management process. So this year, for the first time, we did a mid-year assessment just to give folks a quick mid-year look at, this is how you're doing so far. Tell me how you think I'm doing as your leader. How do you feel that you've done so well, and are you on track to meet your goals? And then for the annual review that we did in the early summer, it was more the leader giving feedback of, this is how you did. This is how you did when we compare your goals to what you actually achieved, and here's how we see you performing against our identified competencies, like the soft skills. So we talk a lot about the work that you did and your actual output, and then how you did your work to make sure it's in line with the institute's expectations.
Obviously it's important that those conversations are not just once a year and one and done, but that is important to have that level of employees knowing that a job well done has the possibility to be rewarded.
And I always love and appreciate and encourage people to also ask for feedback. Don't just wait for annual review to get feedback. Ask for it ahead of time. And ask for it, and when you get it, understand that it's coming from a good place in most instances. And it might not always be what you want to hear, but that has been the most beneficial feedback to me, when it was some tough feedback that I didn't think I deserved or needed, but I did take it and hear it out, and did what I could to implement and adjust to the feedback that was given.
We mentioned up top that I think right now is 15, 16 positions, something like that are posted. That number changes by the day. But for those positions, I mean, we're talking about, director level positions. We're talking about managers. We're talking about instructors, to individual contributors type of roles. I mean, it's all the whole gamut. But I guess, what are some of the traits that your team that IALR is looking for, regardless of what position it is, in these hires that we're making?
I think it's very important. I actually have this conversation with some folks who've applied, that it's important that you look at the job description and make sure, if it's not an entry-level position, that you have some relevant experience and you meet the minimum qualifications. Those are just top things that we're looking for. It's very important that your resume matches the position that you're applying for. Like, if you are a chemical scientist, I don't really think that you would have experience as a CNC machinist. So making sure that the position you're applying for matches your experience, or if it's an entry-level position, of course, that just make sure you meet the minimum qualifications for the job. That's ultra important. We also look for if someone is completing the application or not. Like, we've been asked to do some due diligence to make sure we get a complete application. And we know that in the workforce, in the workplace, it's kind of the trend is you submit a resume and that's it. Our applications are a little more in depth for a reason and by design, and we look for folks to complete the application. Like, we don't, just because we want to be consistent, if someone doesn't have a complete application, we don't consider them. Managers don't even see that application or resume, so it's really important is to complete the application.
I guess what would be your sales pitch for someone, why someone should consider working at IALR? If you are talking to someone in the elevator, what would be your pitch of why someone should work here?
What drew me here. One, it's a great place to work. One, it is a place where if someone is stressed out by their job, if something is really bothering them, I hope that our staff feels that they can come talk to someone to get some resolution and to get some assistance with that concern. That's one thing. I'm here because it's work that I can be proud of. I love seeing people grow, and I've seen lots of growth opportunities here. Maybe it hasn't been a direct promotion or a position change or anything like that, but I've seen people grow their skill set to get ready for opportunities that are to come. I feel that it is a fair place to work. I'm not always, or the HR team in general is not always going to tell you yes to everything, but if we tell you no, I hope that you get a reason. If you don't feel like you get a reason or an understanding behind the no, I want to know that so we can adjust and help, help with that. The benefits are great. I think the culture is great. I haven't worked anywhere where I felt an ease about work. Not that the work is easy, but I felt at ease. Like, yes, I'm ready to go into work today. And I know that I know what I need to get done. I know how I'm going to get it done. And
yeah. No, I think that, to summarize, benefits, culture, impact, those three things together. I definitely feel that.
Thank you for summing it up that way. That was great.
That's my job.
I'm going to use that. What is that? Benefits, culture, and impact.
Easy.
I'm going to use it. Yeah.
Well, LaShaun, that's the questions that I have. I mean, I think, it is, and obviously for those listening, we have lots of open positions. At whether you're listening now or down the road, I'm sure we'll still have more open positions because we're still growing. But please check those out. But LaShaun, that's the questions I have. I think it's really cool to see the growth happening and see how much intentionality is being put into the employee experience and how employees are treated, how work is managed. But is there anything else that you would want to add, or anything else you think people should know?
I think people should know that we are constantly looking to improve. By no means do we feel like we have arrived as the HR leader for the organization. There's still goals that I have to make.
We're not the top employer in Virginia yet.
Not, I'm not ready to submit the application for that award quite yet, because there are some things that I feel like we can do to improve, and we're always going to be look inward and say, what could we have done better? That's so important to us, and I hope that is a draw for people to want to come to work here, because by no means do we feel like we have it all down pat and we're always right about everything, but we know that there's work to do and we're willing to do that work.
Yeah, well, I'm happy to be here and see that growth continue to happen. So thanks for being here, LaShaun. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Megabytes, IALR's on-site cafe, features everyday favorites, convenient ordering options, and an eager staff ready to welcome and serve you. Our enticing menus offer something for everyone, from a fresh, well-stocked salad bar, wraps, sandwiches, and our rotating hot buffet offered on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Megabytes is open Monday through Friday from 9:15 a.m. until 1:30 p.m. To view menus and for more information, visit IALR.org/megabytes.